a very difficult task. Like, you're always going to meet obstacles and you're going to fall short. But more so, like, even, so let's, if I had to say, like, through words, maybe we could get some kind of understanding, and even more clear, we'd be able to maybe designate what God is not, to try to figure out maybe what God is, and even fall short there. But closer we get through contemplation, even like meditation, contemplation, through experience. So even with language, there's so much barriers that occurs there, because it's beyond, in my perspective, it is a little bit beyond our understanding. We can get close, we can get equivalent to certain things. Like, we can say things like God, slept, or God never slept, and all of these are just an attempt that are not so accurate, but they're trying to
okay, so they're wrong.
I wouldn't say that they're wrong. They just fall short of the fullness of trying to explain.
All right. So, what percentage accuracy do you think they've achieved?
Barely, because right. I don't think it really.
Well, didn't you say he's unknowable?
I don't even think that we can conceptualize to the full degree. Like, let's say, for example, your question about, is God everywhere? Yes and no. Like, it's almost like this. It's like God creates a painting, right? And in that painting, his creativity is splashed. Every stroke of the painting is associated to God, and God is, demonstrated in that painting through his creativity. However, is God the painting? You know what I mean? Like, but yes, it is coming from God. Like, we have that painting because it was birthed and is not manifestation, but is a part of God's creativeness. So yes and no, like, at the same time. And Honey Badger, I really don't even know if my answers are good or if I'm doing it right. I'm just kind of playing along with you to see where we get.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're good at all. So.
You're such a dork, dude.
Well, I mean, you started off by saying he's unknowable. You said that I asked you if you're going to heaven. You didn't know whether or not you were, and you said that you just believe everyone's going to return to God. And I said, well, isn't God everywhere? And you don't know where he is. So it just sounds like you don't really know much. And that's good. At least you admit it.
Yeah. I think that, like I said, any linguistic ability to explain God is going to fall a little bit short, but experience, contemplation, meditation, prayer, much more closer than anything that could be explained. And yes, I will fall short. All of us will. All of us, because we're so limited in our understanding.
Are you on page with Rainbow Love and her understanding of how God operates?
So I think that I actually know who Rainbow Love is in person, and I think that she is changing her. It could be. So there's one particular. So you actually I know that you bump heads with Blue. Do you know who Blue is? Blue Inferno in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know you personally, Stella. You're mistaking me for someone else, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, Blue Inferno that is in the audience, I know her personally, and Honey Badger, you and her kind of,
I don't see her.
Chat. Oh, she's not here right now, but in other chats, you and her engage quite a bit, and she has so much in common with Rainbow that I thought that Rainbow, it might be her cosplaying Rainbow, because she plays different characters on the internet. Like, she'll troll and change her name, but
yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, all of her views align with Rainbow, so I thought she's Rainbow, and we're actually friends in real life, and so I thought it was her.
No, I only use this one account.
Yeah, she would never come to me and tell me it's not me if it wasn't if it was her. So then, yeah, Rainbow's not her. She trolls a lot of different people. So, but I don't lot of the things that Rainbow has put down, I have not found a lot of qualms with. Is that the right word? Like, I don't find a lot of areas of contention. So.
Could you steel man one of her main positions that you hold that you agree with?
Yeah, so one of the things that she, I believe, holds is that, like, I think we were both saying the same thing the other day about Jesus being the Word of God and it not really being confounded just to a book, and that what parts of the book, like what we have is human understanding and human record of that experience of the divine, of revelation. And so I agree with, I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Do you agree with what? Just, I'm sorry, could you just rephrase or say it again?
Yeah, so the Word of God is Jesus, and the text that we have, like, it's like almost like trying to confine the Word of God just to a book. And
wait, so the Word of God is Jesus?
Right, truth. Whatever truth is the manifestation of Jesus is truth manifested and the Word proceeding out of the mouth of God manifested.
What is this weird reification of truth you're doing? Like, if I say feces stinks, right? How is that like God?
So whatever is true or truth, Jesus is embodying truth. And does that make sense?
No, you just repeated it. So in what way is feces stinks embodying Jesus or embodying Jesus or God or something? Because that's a true statement. That's true.
Sure, like that's a fact, I guess. But yeah, like whatever is, Jesus is the embodiment of all that is truth, that is true.
You literally said that like 4 times. I'm asking
Yeah,
you what way.
that I'm answering your question.
Yeah, so the thing I said, like,
So we have things that are lies, that are not true, that are false. We have lies, and then we have what is truth. Whatever truth is, the embodiment of that is incarnated in
yeah,
Christ.
I'm asking what you're talking about. Like,
okay, I don't know.
Words isn't gonna help.
Okay, yeah, I don't have anything better than that. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean either. So.
Like, truth is something a statement has, right? A statement can be true or false.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is to say a thing is true or false.
The substance of that makes something true, whatever that is that makes something true, the substance of that is what is embodied in Christ.
Something's true, like a statement is true if the words in that order actually like correspond to the way the world is, right? So if all you're saying is that he is like the way the world is, that doesn't seem to be saying it.
Yeah, it's uninformative.
It does. I don't know why y'all say it doesn't.
So I think that's why it's typically referred to as the mysteries, because it's something that until you've experienced it or understand it or even necessarily believe it, even if you find truth and you don't believe it, then it's something that you can't understand because you can't believe.
Did she say anything?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's exactly where I started, right? I said more than anything than explained or through language, contemplation is how you know. Through you can not understand God, but you can know more about God through contemplation, prayer, meditation than words.
Right. It's like saying, oh, I tried this fruit. It's called a mango. And this is what it looks like. And here's a picture of it. And this is a description of how it tastes.
Use Old Bay on everything, or we gotta add spice. Our collard Our collard
How do you
greens
call
don't
it?
necessarily have spice. Y'all don't have nothing, to be honest.
Mine has like a 7, crackling pepper. With my collards, I'll typically do 2 ham hocks in a cast iron pot, and then I'll go underneath my sink and I'll grab the Crisco and I'll get me like 2 scoops of lard out of the Crisco and put it in there, and then add salt as needed.
So about reality, about God, about not God, about
That's a
everything.
lot.
What are
Can
your
we just
beliefs?
focus on one?
Well, what are your beliefs?
About which?
About all of them.
Well, okay, which one do you want to focus on?
You pick one.
I know you're coming.
Existence.
Let's go with God.
I haven't decided
God, yeah, I
yet, but
think
I've been
God's
wanting to come for a long time, and I'm just taking care of my mother, and I'm going to do it. I haven't figured out just
But
yet.
apparently,
I gotta get a
apparently I
doctor to
haven't
look at it for
tasted
my mother.
it, so I wouldn't
You know who one of the first people
Yeah,
is
you're
that I
basically
told
saying-
I wanted to see?
A mango is an incoherent
Who is one of the first
No,
people
no,
is?
I'm-
Don't tell me. Yes, this was
Oh, sorry.
Yes, but we're really
This was
not
my
doing
favorite.
it.
That's because you've tasted it.
Yes.
Okay, how did Rainbow, how do you taste
He's
God?
such a character, and he's old school
let's-
Kabutznik, you know?
Is that a mouth
Yeah.
thing, or is this just a mind
Listen,
thing? What is
man.
this mental state? Like, how do you taste it?
You come to Amos room, man, we talk.
Oh, through experience. What kind of experience?
When I
Oh, there's so many ways
got to
that
my
people
home,
experience
Well, give me
it.
one.
coexistence.
Through contemplation, through meditation, through prayer.
Okay, so through brain chemistry.
He's a classic.
Well, you just said
Yeah.
contemplation.
You could put him in a movie.
Because I think it's a,
I
I
would
mean,
want
it's
to.
it's a spiritual
You say you would?
factor.
Oh, now we're throwing
Yeah, I
spirit
would-
into
I
this.
would wish
Okay.
this
It
was-
sounds like whenever a question is asked to a theist, we just get this like barrage of salad bar antics. It's crazy.
Well, that's exactly what I told you, that language has its limits when it comes to explaining something that is a little bit, like,
Go back to the mango theory and keep playing on that, because until you've actually seen a mango, held a mango, tasted a mango, it's like saying, well, what's God? Well, you have to experience it. It's like saying, well, what's a mango? I've never seen a mango. I don't know what a mango is. What are you talking about? What is this mango thing? I don't believe in mangoes.
so I guess my question would be, Honey Badger, do you like accept that people are experiencing God? Do you accept the fact that people are they being dishonest? Are they being honest in their experience?
I think some of them are honestly believing it that they are, but I don't think they actually are ontologically.
So what is it that they're experiencing?
Their own brain states and conditioning and I don't know, delusion.
Interesting.
Right? Because you said he's unknowable. So I mean, I don't know how you get to people are experiencing it when it's unknowable.
Yeah, through language, like trying to describe God, it has its limits because it's really beyond what we can really truly fathom. Like what we can really truly fathom, we have more success in kind of saying what God is not and trying to figure out what God is than actually postulating what God is. But you can know more than trying to linguistically explain, just like the mango, in experience.
What's coming to mind for me right now is that little story about the guy whose house was covered in a flood. And he's sitting on the roof and he's praying. And he says, God, please help me. And this boat comes by. And the guy's like, no, I'm good. God's going to save me. And then this helicopter comes by. And the guy's like, no, God's going to save me. And the guy dies. He gets to heaven. He says, why didn't you save me, God?
Mad with that.
Helicopter.
And
What do
then,
you want me to do?
Right. Well, maybe
who
just
knew
make it
one
more
of the
evident
six,
that it's not
and
just
they were so mean and
sending things and like. I think it's funny that like, when you guys talk about this, I've never heard of anything where a god is
There's always dudes.
Well, what do you think the driving force is behind these dudes?
What do you mean? What your claim is that it's God? Is that
Yeah.
Okay, so would you apply that to everything?
Yeah.
Okay, so when there's murder and rape happening, that's just God's power?
Well, see, now here's where.
Well, see, now I'm gonna change my story now because I just said it's everything.
I'm
So.
gonna change my story.
Okay, let's hear it.
This is where the difference between the carnal mind and the spiritual mind come into play. Because if you believe, you're just mute up. Let me finish. You're always interrupted. It's very difficult to talk.
Well, I mean, I just feel like you're gonna go on another solid rampage. So go ahead.
Well, if you'd like my solid rampage, then mute up, and if you don't, I'll mute up.
Can I just make the dressing though?
Okay, I'll mute.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I don't want to waste time with your word salads, actually. But what would you say to that, Sayla? Do you think the power behind all these things that humans do is attributed to God?
I think that the fact that God has allowed suffering and pain into the world, it makes it, yes, attributed to God, but I do believe that God has allowed for us to make these decisions. And since God has allowed us to make these decisions, then yeah, you could attribute them to God.
Okay, so when you say allow, what does that mean?
Meaning that God has, like, if you're an uncle, you could be the best uncle in the world, or you can be the worst uncle in the world.
Yeah, and what does that mean?
So God has allowed this to be possible for somebody to be the worst uncle or the best uncle in the world, and since He's allowed it, we can attribute God, being responsible for allowing it. But it doesn't mean that that's what God necessarily, that God wanted you to be the worst uncle in the world.
Okay.
Like, God didn't want you to be the worst uncle in the world, but God allowed you to be the worst uncle in the world by giving you the option to be the worst uncle in the world.
Okay, so you don't think God actually has plans?
No, I absolutely believe that God has plans, and that plan is to ultimately reconcile the whole world.
Yeah, you have a choice. You have an absolute choice to create your own decisions to, like Sarah said, be the worst uncle in the world, or you have the choice to not do that. So your choice, whether or not you act of your own volition or that of, what would be the right thing to do, is your choice.
Okay, yeah, so God isn't necessarily focused on free will as a priority, right?
That's like saying if a child wants to put their hand on a hot element, the parent has their free will to let them do it or not.
Yeah, so free will isn't really the thing that He's trying to preserve.
But then you're saying, right? Oh, what a horrible parent, they just let their child burn their hand. How dare they do that? That's a horrible God. Well, which you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, that's what I would say to you. I would think that if God is interested in preserving free will, then He would actually intervene, because He does intervene, and He would preserve the free will of victims every time a rapist is around, right?
Then how would you ever learn anything?
Oh, this is the whole soul building argument now? Is that what we're going with?
I mean,
so a person needs to be raped. Is that what you're saying, Rainbow? In order to learn something?
No, the rapist needs to learn not to rape.
Wait,
it has nothing to do with the victim. If you want to play the victim, then you'll be the victim. If you want to play the rapist, then you'll be the rapist. So it's your choice.
You just sound like a crazy person.
Okay, well, you're entitled.
You do. You literally sound like a crazy person, dude. It's fucking crazy.
That's your opinion.
Yeah. I think you sound like a crazy person.
Choose to be raped.
Well, I think you sound like a crazy person, so I guess we're just.
Have I said something that's wild? Like you can choose to be a victim, and God, you gotta learn to not be a rapist. Am I saying shit like that, or are you?
Well, to be fair, honey, I remember, it took me 23 tries before I got that one down.
Yeah. I'm still learning.
Don't say stuff like that.
Yeah, what is it
I told the judge I finally mastered this skill, right? What is
it in you that is deciding to or not to be a rapist? Are you a rapist?
No, I'm not.
Okay, what is it in you that has chosen not to be?
I think it's just the way my brain chemistry is set up. I'm not predisposed to that kind of behavior.
So you think that rapists and not rapists has to do with brain chemistry?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
And the brain, where's that chemistry coming from? It's just out of thin air?
No, I think it comes from our brains. I just said so.
It comes from experience.
Rainbow, I don't know how you don't get banned on here. You say wild ass shit.
How does chemistry come from experience?
It's not chemistry, that's what I'm saying.
What is it, the soul?
No, a child that grows up to become a rapist had a different experience than a child that didn't grow up to be a rapist based on experience, not brain chemistry, unless there was some sort of mental illness, which typically comes from experience.
I would say that, like, to draw a tie between what you all are saying, experience can alter the brain chemistry. So,
this is like a perfect example of like you dumb people wasting time talking about nothing. This is awesome. So I'm gonna go to the gym shortly. I hope they go on for hours. They might go on for like hours.
Experience that caused the brain chemistry, whatever have you.
It'll be perfect. I'll come back. We'll still be talking. I'll have hours of
Is
content.
that no matter how much on earth we break one another, or we break things, or we create destruction.
What I love about these rooms is that these people say so much more.
Piece it back together again. God is able
it's
to
like
take
how,
the most
if you ask them
broken
to
of
relate
everything
what they're
and has
talking
the
about
ability
now
to put
to
it back
essentially
together
their
again.
anti-Semitic Jew hate, they'll be able to bridge that gap.
People who attack and or sexually assault other people get punished later on by God?
So
This
the
is
way
funny.
that
It's just a yes or no.
Yes or no?
No as well.
Yeah, so okay, let me see real quick if I can
So do you agree with Rainbow Sailor that no is the answer?
No, so I'm gonna try to explain like what I'm saying. So
I'd rather just have a yes or no and then an explanation.
Yeah, so
the answer is yes, he does punish.
Well, hold on, I want to explain
yes.
something. No, something that's really important to explain. So a lot of people that are using like this punishment, right, of God, the way that they're explaining it is that like you do.
Wait, I'm talking about you. Do you believe that rapists and murderers get punished later on by God? Yes or no?
And you please let me. This is like really important.
No, I don't want the long-winded bullshit. Just say yes or no.
No, because it's really imperative that like.
It's not imperative. We're gonna listen to this, and it's not gonna be imperative. I guarantee you.
And it's not like being a child and.
All right, sorry, Stella. Go ahead.
Okay. A child is a great example of what I'm saying. When a child does certain things, they often do it from not knowing any better, right? Like they do things that they really might not know any better, but yet we still use consequences to teach them what they don't know. So whatever consequences or punishment, if you will, that God is laying out, it's for the betterment and the learning of that child. So a lot of theists throw out this punishment like it's just punishment for what you've done bad. But it's really important to clarify that the consequences or the punishment of whatever it is, it's just like a child who doesn't know better, like needs to learn better. Like, let's say, for example, you told the child not to keep running out the front door, but the child keeps running out the front door into the
So is that a yes or a no? I'm still waiting on that part.
So, whatever consequences and punishment that God is going to lay forward, and then, yes.
Okay, so yes. Okay.
There's going to be consequences, but that consequences is in teaching the child and bettering the child.
Okay, so we're not talking about children. I asked if someone is a rapist.
No, we are children. We are children.
Okay. Well, adult children. So,
Yeah.
regardless, let's
And
drop
more
the
than
child
a
part.
judge and a
Okay.
more than a what is it called? When an executioner, God is like a father. So it's important to keep in context when we're talking about consequences and punishment. it is for the embetterment of the child, not for just pure
Okay. Look, so the answer is yes. There is a punishment, correct?
There are consequences to our behaviors that cause harm to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if a rapist rapes 50 women or 50 men, however you want to look at it, I'm not going to genderize them, and they end up dying, does a punishment ensue for that person later on when they're dead?
I don't even know about later on. It starts immediately.
How would you determine that?
Anyone that does stuff like that is probably already suffering in their soul and their mind. Maybe they might go to jail. Yeah, they're probably suffering in their mind and their soul. Then they probably go to jail. Maybe it causes them to have other behaviors that cause.
What if they don't? What if they just get away with it and they die peacefully in their own home playing video games?
Yeah, no matter what, there's a reverberation from their actions until that they get the understanding that they need to be rehabilitated.
I feel like you're saying a lot of things, but you're not really explaining much.
I'm trying my best.
Okay, so the question was on the table, a person who is definitely criminally minded.
It was like an acceptance of saying, like, I'm stupid, but I'm trying.
Okay, they actually have a great life because they're a psychopath and they're just enjoying their life.
This is like a perfect example of like Stella going through a job interview cycle that she can't fucking get hired anywhere because people are like, oh fuck, she's stupid.
Family, right? Does that person get punished when they die by God?
I just don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Okay, so you don't think that happens.
I just don't believe that people that carry that within them have normal.
Well, that's just your belief.
Or lives.
Yeah. So you don't know. You could just say I don't know.
I don't know. But
Stella can't say I don't know. She doesn't know about the I don't know option.
Actions is not having it is not whole, so they're gonna have repercussions.
Well, that's sweet. That's sweet of you. I'm just asking about the God part, so maybe someone else could answer it because I don't think I got a straight answer from you.
I mean, Donald Rumsfeld is probably going to die in his sleep, right?
He's already dead, dummy.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, remember the question, Sayla, is really simple. Like, if I were you, I would have just said, yeah, God doesn't like that shit and he's going to be punished. But, because that's what I hear from most people. They say, well, he's going to have his judgment day.
He's already being punished. That's the thing. Like, because he is in whatever state you're in, that to be in a state of wanting to hurt others, you're you're in hell in certain aspects. Like any area of your life that you are suffering and you are experiencing hell.
Okay, so then I was right. God isn't really necessarily focused on free will as a priority. I got you. Right? Wouldn't you agree?
I'm not sure. The only priority that I subscribe to God is our restoration.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. But wouldn't you agree that free will isn't necessary?
Eventually, Stella will get exhausted and leave. I guarantee. Right? She's not going to stick around for this.
And then,
it's too challenging
that person
for her.
Might suffer some kind of hell on earth because of their mental states, and they're getting some karma in their actual life on earth. So I guess I was just right. Like, God doesn't necessarily prioritize free will.
Restoration, like God's gonna restore the deck for me.
Restoration, like God is gonna restore all of us back to the primordial state.
But why not make us that way from the get-go? Like, why make something that needs to be restored? Like, no one goes, oh, I'm going to make a 1945 Buick to restore it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you get one that's already fucked up and used, and then restore that.
Because I think that the knowledge of good and evil is necessary for our evolution, our spiritual evolution.
But didn't God
how did
want
you
us
understand that, though?
Stay away from the tree of good and evil?
Yeah, you said God wasn't knowable. So how did you come to that conclusion?
We're not talking about God. We're talking about the knowledge.
Well, you're talking about his plans and what he wants.
I'm talking about the knowledge of good and evil seems to be necessary. That's why it exists.
But if you read Genesis, right, God did not intend for us to know, to eat from the tree of knowledge of good.
Yeah, I disagree with that idea. I even believe that God walked away and made the option available.
I mean, it's in his book.
But it does say that.
Please no eating on mic.
That's what I'm saying, Salah. Do you know? Have you read Genesis?
Yeah, I don't think that God didn't know that Adam was going to eat from the fruit. Like, it caught him by surprise, and he's like, "Oh my God, I had no idea, Adam, you were going to do this." I even think that he leaves them in the garden for the opportunity to be available, and I think that it's a necessary part of our experience, or else God would not have allowed it to happen.
Sailor,
I
do
agree
you believe
with
that?
you with him knowing that, but I think the problem you would have. I'm a Christian too, but like saying that you won't believe in the understanding the punishment as you were answering, right? Then you would have to say, why would he allow them to start with anyway with that? But, I don't know. It's okay to, speak the truth and according to the scripture, let them know what they need to know.
Sailor, do you believe that?
Not kind of shy away.
Sailor, do you believe that when God created the setup in the garden, that the option was there to just choose to do the right thing?
Was the option there to do the right thing? Yeah, but I don't think that we would. I think every last one of us would have chosen no.
Well, we're not talking about us. We're talking about Adam and Eve. So when Adam and Eve were in the garden, do you believe that God was like, yeah, you know what, they could choose to do what I say? Because that's actually what he wants, right? Like, he wanted them to not eat from the tree, right?
I think that just
where do you
like,
get these ideas? Sayla, it's like you say he's unknowable, and I ask you a simple question, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, and then you start reading God's mind.
Honey,
It's just amazing
I
listening
said
to
that using linguistics, it's more difficult to know God than contemplating, meditating, and through prayer. I'm talking about our ability to linguistically explain that which God is. God is more knowable through contemplation and experience than trying to verbalize what God is. We will fall short continually.
Okay, so you should just say, I don't know, to everything asked of you.
No, because
Why? Why wouldn't you just be honest and go, I don't fucking know? Just say it.
Because I have my intuition.
Yeah, but your intuitions are wrong, right?
They could be.
Yeah. It just sounds like you're like making a lot of excuses for things that you were like taught to believe as a child.
I wasn't taught this as a child.
You actually took this on as an adult?
Absolutely.
Oh, well then, that's something to look into.
Okay, could I interject just for a minute, honey?
I don't know, Hans.
Okay, very quickly. The thing is, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what the tree of knowledge is, knowledge of good and evil. In Hinduism, there's Sit, Sat, Ananda. Sit is like an animal. They're not aware of themselves. Sat is like humans. They are aware of themselves. So that's what it said. Your eyes will be open, and you'll know that the difference between good and evil. It's about good and evil for yourself. You become conscious of yourself, right? And then you are aware, you're looking at everything. Does this benefit me? Is this good for me, or is this bad for me? And at that moment, you become separated from the oneness of creation, because you're looking at everything in terms of yourself. Is this going to help me? Is this going to hurt me? And so what happens is people can look at things, they go overboard and be very incredibly selfish, which is what Cain did. He was greedy with his sacrifice to God, and then he became jealous. So he was looking at everything from how to benefit himself. And so it's just part of the test, because the goats are always desiring things for themselves, and the fear comes when they think they won't get what they desire. So you're either submitting to your ego or you're submitting to God's will. And that's what that's about, in my opinion. So that's the original sin, right? That you're looking to benefit yourself instead of benefiting creation that you're a part of.
Honey, I got a question for you. How do you know the person? You kind of mocked Salah for saying that she had an experience of God. How do you prove that person?
She said she had an experience of God, and I mocked her.
Well, she was saying that through like her. I think she said through her experience, and she can correct me again. But how do you prove that person doesn't have an experience of God?
No, I can't. I think people think they have experiences of something, and then they call it God.
Well, how do you know? So you're saying is they experience, even though they call it God, it's not God. But
yeah, that's my belief. Yeah.
Would it not be your opinion?
Yeah, that's my belief. Based on the evidence, it sounds like look, I'm
not
subject.
evidence, right? Based on the opinion.
No. Based on the evidence that isn't presented, no one could tell whether or not they actually experience God. But it sounds like your claim is that everyone experiences God, right? Because ontologically speaking, I'm a part of the plan. God is actually a part of my life, right? So I'm actually experiencing God on the daily, right?
No, that's not.
Oh, I'm not? God isn't part of my life?
Okay. No, not everyone can experience God.
Not everyone can experience God. Wow, listen to this.
Absolutely not.
I disagree with the sheep. I do think that God is involved in all of our lives. Some just fail to recognize it.
But involvement and experience is two different things, Salah. I don't think you're understanding what he's saying, right? Because just because God is involved in everybody doesn't mean that everyone would have an experience of God, right? Because they can choose not to have that, right? They can be blinded to that.
Wait, you can choose to not experience God?
Yeah.
I mean,
wow,
I think
this
that
is
there
wild
are times,
talk. You guys are all over the place.
Well, I do think that there are times that we do experience God, and then we try to reason it away, or try to find a logical reason, or override what we may have experienced. However,
can you give an example of someone having an experience and denying it's God?
Let me just finish.
Exactly.
But ultimately, the experience is the responsibility of God, not the person. Like, I don't put that on the person that you chose just to, like, there are times, yes, I do believe that people will have an experience and then try to override it because of their pre-existing ideas. I do believe that.
But is there a time, though, where
God
there is no...
ultimately able to give an experience that the person no longer wants to override. He has that capacity too.
Sure, so by then, does it not mean that the person does not want to experience God by choosing to do that?
Wait.
Yes, God is the one that gets us to the place where we finally...
So not everyone can experience God.
No, I disagree. I disagree with that.
You literally just concluded that not everyone can experience God.
Can I have an experience and fail to recognize the experience? And is my failure
if you fail to recognize it, you wouldn't have an experience.
But this is what no, that's not true. Like, you can have an experience and fail to recognize that you're having the experience. It doesn't negate the fact that you had the experience.
How do you discount for experience? How do you not claim to have, like, how do you reject an experience, right? How do you do that?
Exactly. And that's a hard thing to.
And more importantly, I would like to understand an example of someone having an experience, right? And then they're denying that it's. What were you saying? We're having experiences that are.
This happens all the time. It's a famous experiment.
Right? You can lose faith and not realize it's fake. Like, you can have experiences that you don't know, like, you don't recognize the truth of.
But if you don't recognize it, then it's not an experience. That's
No, you're dreaming, but you think you're awake. You're still dreaming. You're still an experience.
You're right. It's still an experience,
There's a
right?
famous
What I'm trying to understand is what
where
I'm trying.
long line
One at a time, you guys.
drawn
Good golly.
on a chalkboard. You asked the question.
No, hang on,
So
Benjamin.
why don't
You're
you
not
listen
helping me.
for an answer?
No, you're not helping me. I understand that experience.
You're interrupting the answer to your
No, you
question.
interrupted me.
I don't need the
No, you asked the
raving and the
question.
raging. Let's just keep this civil.
You asked the
I am
question.
being
I'm
serious.
trying to answer.
All right,
your
I'll-
question. Look, there's a famous experiment with a chalkboard. A long line is drawn and a short line is drawn. In the room, people are asked which is the longer line. Everybody in the room conspires, except for one, to answer that the short line is the long line. The question is, what will the 10th guy respond? Will he just call out the lines the way they are, or will he just go along with the crowd? And very often, more than half, the 10th guy will just go along with the crowd and say the short one is the long one. That's an example of denying experience.
They're having.
But people, for social reasons, deny experiences all the time.
So you're saying the person? So you're saying the person did not experience seeing the lines at all? What? You cannot deny having an experience. You have an experience, whether it be an
You can deny
hallucination.
any fucking thing you want. You just say,
I mean, you
no,
can't
it didn't
deny
happen.
it, but you have to experience it in order to know it, right? So like, if you like, you're saying is, like you've seen something that you could experience, but you've never actually like reached to that point, then you haven't experienced it. But if you did reach it, like for example, like people who are theists, right? They go to Christianity and they leave Christianity. They didn't accept it because they have an experience. But not all have an experience, right? Those, like, that's what I'm saying. Like everybody claiming that, everybody knows God, and well, not really.
Yeah, that's
But
my.
that's what I'm
That's what I'm leading up to. I want to understand how is it someone having an experience, and then theists are claiming that you're denying that experience is God. I want to understand that.
Yeah, so this is a pretty personal story, but so my mom and dad are pretty much atheists on a good day and agnostic. And I have a friend, and I know a lot of you will scoff at this, but that's okay too, that has prophetic giftings. And so, not really a friend, actually somebody who's a spiritual leader. So a spiritual friend leader told my mom that she was going to come down, I'm not going to say come down with something, I'm not using the best words, but let's just say come down with something, and that the doctors weren't going to be able to diagnose it, and they're going to continue to try to diagnose it and fall short, but a healing would go out and that she would be healed. Anyways, my mom got really pissed at this. Who the hell is he to tell me that I'm going to come down with something? And I was like, Mom, I heard that he say that you're going to be healed and, that you would be healed or whatever. So I think maybe 3 months after that, my mom developed this like pain in her head, like forehead area, and it just wasn't going away. They did scans, where they did, looked at her sinuses, they looked at everything, and they just couldn't figure it out. So anyways, my atheist agnostic mom was in her bed, and she said that she was sleeping and that someone came into the room, and she was so sure that someone came into the room that she like braced herself to get hit. And then someone sat on the bed, and as soon as they sat on the bed, this fatherly figure, like this fatherly feeling came over her. And she said that Jesus reached out his hand and put it on her head, and she was healed. Now, here's the thing. Some time goes on after that, and my mom will totally deny it. Like, if you say, Mom, do you remember when you said that, Jesus came in and healed you? She's like, yeah, I don't know what was going on with that. It's just something I really just can't explain. I don't know. Like, she'll totally not even want to talk about it, totally just, she doesn't attribute it to Jesus anymore. Like, her whole storyline is this. It's just something I really can't explain. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, brain chemistry is powerful, Sayla.
Yeah, well, that's denying it. That's denying an experience. Like,
exactly.
You don't understand. For my mom to say that it was Jesus that
But
touched
she
her head is like
experienced that,
outlandish. It's like outlandish for her to say something like
She
that.
already experienced that.
Yeah,
She's
she didn't-
denying.
She didn't
But
deny the
when we're
experience.
talking about it, the person
She
that
didn't
never
deny the
really actually
experience.
saw that. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying. When Hani said that you theists say that you have experienced God or something like that, And I said not everyone experiences God, right? Your mother got to experience God, and she denied it, right? So that's different than to say that everybody have an experience, right? So I mean, nobody will go against that.
Well, you don't know that her mom actually experienced God, right?
Well, I'm going based on the story. But
she gave a description of what she saw, right, in her experience.
Exactly, but I'm a theist.
God.
I am a theist, so I believe that if she experiences God, I mean, that's fine. But she denied that experience. If she never experienced that, she would not know what that is. And the same way that when atheists full-time raised as an atheist without having to understand who God is, like there is a time where they actually won't experience God, even if God is giving them like a reason to experience Him, right? So that's what we are saying. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
But let's accept that this apparition happened. How would you then make the positive identification that it's God? Like the God in the Bible kills Egyptian children. So when I experience God, like I need Him to come into my room and kill Egyptian children. Then I have this like, oh, that's a pattern that God does in the Bible, and then I experience
that is not a pattern, Benjamin. Stop.
If God is not killing Egyptian children, then how do I know it's the God of the Bible? That's the question I have.
I think that's a very dishonest question because if you read the Bible, that is not a pattern. But I think a personal experience is more subjective in a sense that only that person can experience it. So that's why I asked earlier.
Did God go to more than one house and kill Egyptian children? Because I think.
But you said it's a consistent thing. That's very
Egyptian children.
Dishonest
that
argument.
Would be a pattern, wouldn't it?
No, that's very bad. That's a very bad argument. Just because let's say the United States went down to the Korean War, and then now you're associating that is a pattern for a United States to do. Like that's just nonsense. It just makes no sense. I think that's a dishonest argument.
Well, I would accept some alternatives. Like if I saw some kids and they made fun of people for being bald, and then bears came out of the woods and killed the kids.
Exactly.
Then I would say maybe that's God, right? But I need more than just
God
like
is also
an apparition showed up.
That's not even an argument, honestly. It sounds like you have some kind of problem with God. You should take it up with God. But JCC, go ahead.
No, I was just laughing because he said bears come out of the woods. That's God. I'm like, what?
James, that's in the Bible.
Yeah, it is. It's Elisha. They were cursing at Elisha.
Yeah, I'm aware of the story, right?
Yeah, but I think that's a very dishonest argument to bring that. But you have a problem with God.
But what I'm saying is, if I'm going to positively ID an apparition as God, I need God to do God stuff.
Yeah, what about the part that He
created? God stuff.
What about the part that He created?
Oh, yeah, He could create a world. He could come into my bedroom and create a world on my desk, on my, side desk.
What about the part that He loved and was relational, which is what Salah's mom actually experienced?
Wait, He was loving when He killed Egyptian children, or when He had the bears come out of the woods?
He disciplines, of course, and He also loves, right?
Wait, He disciplined the Egyptian children for what? What did the Egyptian children do? Because I forgot that part. Is that not?
Well, they were part of the society that was oppressing the
So He disciplines people for being born in a country?
The story's more than that. Read it more, and then you'll understand. Read more.
No, I want to know what the child did. I want to know what the children did to be punished. Because I want to not do that thing, whatever those children
Exactly,
did.
that's what I'm saying.
That's
if you read, it'll give you the answer. Literally, it's like, when you read a story and read a book, like you wouldn't read a paragraph and ask me, right? You would read the whole thing and make sure that you actually understand.
You're pretending like I didn't read the whole Bible, like I read the whole Bible.
It sounds like you haven't read the whole thing, so you should go read it again.
Well, let's get past the evasion. What did the Egyptian children do that deserved them to die? And I want to be very specific here. I want to talk about the Egyptian child of the woman who was in a prison. Like an abandoned child because her parents are in the prison. This is in the text, and this child, God kills them. So I want to report what you think the child of the prisoner did that deserved God killing them in the middle of the night.
What prisoners?
So you need me to read the Bible to you? Just hold on, I'll read the Bible to you.
Sure, go ahead. Spark my brain. But I don't think that's an honest argument anyway. I think it's just going to lead us.
You don't think that the problem of God being evil is a legitimate argument?
God is not evil.
You just
the author of the book.
discounting an argument that you can't address.
If the author of the book decides to write a story in which that is befitting to him, just because you read the story doesn't mean the author is evil, right? And so again, we live in a story that God created, and that He does what He wills, and therefore is not evil.
Right, nothing that happens.
I agree you live in a story.
Yeah, nothing at all, right? Nothing at all that happens is evil, right?
Now, you and I would fit within that evil nature because we are acting outside of God's will, because He created us to do good and treat each other with respect and honor.
So here's the text.
Therefore,
I know you live in this story, so you never read the story, but you live in this story.
I've
so
read it, I just don't know. I just forgot. It's been a while.
You live in this story. Why would I need to read it to you if you live in this story?
Read it.
Exodus 12.
Not that I have a
29.
problem with it anyway, but go ahead.
Exodus 12, verse 29. At midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt. From the firstborn of
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh.
The prisoner ones. What are you talking about? The prisoner ones. You mentioned about the two
firstborn. Yeah, from the firstborn of Pharaoh.
They were not prisoners. Those are the Pharaoh children.
You gotta wait for you gotta wait for the whole verse to be read, and then you can object, because your objections are silly. At midnight the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on the throne to the firstborn of the prisoner who was in the dungeon, and the firstborn of all the livestock as well. So there's two questions to you here. What did the firstborn of the prisoner do exactly to deserve being killed? And also,
he is an Egyptian.
What did the firstborn of the livestock do? Oh, so God kills people based on ethnicity, so he's a racist motherfucker. Awesome.
Yes.
And that's...
God is the original racist.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. He had specific people that he chose to be his own
God
children,
kills
right?
people
So,
just because of their ethnicity. Are you? Standing by this
I can't. You're an atheist, so you would not.
Well, you haven't even read the Bible, apparently.
Whether I'm an atheist or not.
May I ask you a couple of questions?
Really quickly, what
Let me
did
answer
God
this.
do? What did God say to create Israel?
What?
Didn't He say, "Hey, you guys, go kill those people and take their land"?
That's later, buddy. Benjamin, though.
But that's in the Bible, right? God literally said, "Go kill those dudes, and you can have the land."
Can you just?
I invented a word for this, Romero. It's called genocidophilia, which is the love of genocide. And
I guess you guys want to talk to yourself. Go ahead.
No, sheep.
Judaism
Don't blow us out, man.
Wow,
honey, come on.
I asked an honest question, and I
Romero's
heard
talking,
the dude crash
Benjamin is
out.
talking, so we're not even.
I asked an honest question, and all I heard
tell
was the
your
dude crashing
atheist
out.
buddies to actually have a good discussion, not just running around calling God.
Alright, well, I'm sorry you're crashing out.
I need everyone to respectfully not speak over one another. It's very easy. Please. Thanks.
Can I get a feedback from Selah, though, about God killing all these children because of their ethnicity? Like, is that cool? Is that where we're at?
Who's speaking?
It's Benjamin, Selah, and I want just to confirm, you're okay with God killing children of prisoners. Well, their parents are in jail, and God kills the children because of their ethnicity. Nothing else, just their ethnicity. That's what your Patriot said here.
Yeah, so
You're okay with that? What's the program?
I don't know about okay, but I think that I kind of don't necessarily get bogged down with what happens here on earth more than the fact that all of us are going to be reconciled. Like for me, all of us are going to die at some point or the other. It could be in a car crash, it could be during a war, it could be anything. But the story about when Elijah, was it Elijah or Elisha, when he curses the children, for me, that text, what it's doing is teaching, like, I think that there's some people that they get so aligned with God, they get so close and aligned to God that even their words carry weight. And if they say something, it'll happen. And I think it was at that moment that Elijah or Elisha, I can't remember who it was, realized that, okay, my words now have weight. Like it'll get carried out. Like I don't think that when he turned and he cursed them, that he necessarily knew that it was going to be carried out. But I do believe that as a holistic, like the narrative becomes that particular people that have a walk with God need to watch their words. And if you curse the thing, it will be cursed. And if you bless the thing, it will be blessed. So it's very imperative that certain of us that have this relationship and this, I don't want to maybe say this, not hierarchy, but like, what is it in the army when you have different positions and you have
chain of command.
Not chain of command, but
hierarchy.
Authority, let's just say.
Hierarchy. Sound like the word hierarchy.
Authority in the spirit. You can't just walk around and and I think that Elijah or Elisha may have learned that on that day.
So you're saying he cursed him accidentally, right? Not
I think that
children
I think it was on that day that he realized that he has the weight to his words, and what I think the text is conveying to us is that there's a certain place that you walk with God that you can't just curse or bless something. You have to be mindful of what you're blessing, what you're cursing, because.
But how does that answer the question of?
This is really answering Benjamin's question.
The Egyptian children.
Well, that's what I was saying, is that I don't get bogged down with people losing their lives in this realm.
Right, you want to avoid actually addressing what he's saying.
No, I'm saying that it doesn't necessarily.
What do you mean you don't get bogged down with people's lives on Earth, Sailor? You're in other rooms about Palestine and freaking Israel all the time.
And I'm a firm believer that God is going to reconcile those people.
Great. So you do believe.
Fine for Masha.
That's one of the reasons that they come out of the ashes praising God, is that they have an understanding that despite the fact that they're being killed in this realm, that they will rise with God. They come out of the ashes praising God.
Are you saying that it was okay for Masha to be treated the way she was by the Islamic regime?
No, of course it's not okay.
Because it just doesn't matter who dies?
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter who dies. What I'm saying is that in this realm, if you think that we're not going to have wars on Earth, then you're living in rainbows and bunnies and daisies that I don't understand.
This is God showing up at midnight.
No, this is God interacting in our human experience, and that reality is war. Like, that's... we have wars on this earth, and God is interacting in the framework of this world.
Well, the passage I read is not a war, right? It's just God showing up at midnight, killing children of prisoners.
It is a war because they enslaved his people. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he's saying, let my people go.
What makes people go hungry?
I'm sorry.
Who's eating up all the money?
I knew you did not read the whole thing.
We're going around enslaving people. Is that the claim now? Like the children were like oh wait, you're saying Jews. Jews, which is a group, are so.
The Jews were enslaved by the Egyptians.
No, I get this. You're saying Jews.
The Egyptians
are so
killed
weak.
Hundreds of thousands of little kids
even the
and
children,
drowned them and fed them to the crocodiles.
But even the children could enslave them. That's what you're saying. Jews are such pathetic wussies that the children of the Egyptians could enslave them. And that's what God killed the children.
Yeah, maybe we did go a little over the top there.
Actually happened. And taking the first male sons did incredibly damage to Pharaoh's kingdom.
Well, killing children
and
will
future
do
kingdom.
damage. I agree, killing children will do damage.
Well, especially when
to
they're
the
going to grow up
society.
and be your leaders and your army and whatever.
This
Like
is
that's
called collective punishment, right? What you're saying is, as long as you don't like a group of people, or if like maybe some of them do a bad thing, then you can kill all of them. Like if Palestine
No. I don't think
misbehave,
that.
then
I
it
don't
would be
think.
justified to like kill all Palestinians.
No. We cannot carry out. Listen, we cannot carry out collective punishment because we don't have the ability to make that person reanimated again after they die. Like God has the ability to reanimate them as soon as they die. I don't. God has the ability to reconcile them, put them back together, give them a new life. I don't. And since I don't have the ability to do that, I don't have the right to do that.
But God gave the right to the Israelites to kill all the Amalekites, so he could give the right to the Israelites to kill all the Palestinians, right?
I mean, you're living in a tribal time where people go to war, and so I wouldn't doubt that God would give the victory at particular times to different people.
So if the Israelites succeed over the Palestinians,
sometimes he gave the victory to other people against the Israelis. I'm not the Israelis, but the Hebrew Israelites.
Right, but if the Israelis succeed against the Palestinians, that's the will of God.
No, because if you read in Micah, the exact same thing that they did in Micah is what they're doing now. I can literally read it. You build Zion in blood. You take people's houses. You take away their inheritance, and all of the things that they're doing now is exactly what is written in Micah, and they were judged for that.
Well, isn't that what they did to the Amalekites and the Shemalakites and the every single tribe that occupies that area?
No, it was different because they were acting on their own will. They were being unjust in what they were doing.
I don't care about justice. God kills these children who didn't do anything, the Egyptian children, just because their ethnicity.
Yeah, God.
But now we're talking about justice.
Take anyone's life that God wants to because God has the ability to reanimate them. I don't.
You have been spending too much time with Andrew. How's that going, by the way? You getting anywhere?
Hi, Benjamin. I got a question to Benjamin when we're gonna chat.
I think Queen Pat has been waiting to.
Yeah, let's let Queen Pat speak. Let's hear from someone. Hopefully, we get some more legitimate claims and responses.
Yeah. So I just want to give a response to Benjamin based on my understanding. Benjamin, let me clarify. You're not going right?
I do believe in God. Yeah.
You do believe in God?
Sure.
You believe in God's authority?
I don't know about that. That's a little bit problematic.
So, what exactly do you believe about God?
I believe that people make up gods the way people make up money, and I believe in God the same way I believe in money. I just believe that the ontology of gods are the things that people invent. Like I believe in unicorns, and
so you believe
I
that
believe
God
in Star Trek.
Okay, you believe that God is something you make up for yourself.
Yeah, God is really just a story, right? It's a story.
Because that defiles the whole idea of who God is. God is supposed to be somebody who has some sort of sovereignty, who has some sort of power, that's high above us. And that's the whole concept of God. Anyways, I see where your questions and your questioning are coming from because it will never make sense to you. I understand you're just trying to argue, but this is something about God that I just want to enlighten you about. There is such a thing as God's authority, God's sovereignty, and God's justice. You cannot, from your own frame of mind, judge God.
This is QueenPat.realty. Handcrafted by God Himself, a rare blend of strength and grace.
He shows mercy to, and he shows kindness to whom he wants to show kindness. And the way God administered his justice back then is quite different from the way he administers justice right now. So for you to really understand why he took the actions he took back then, you have to really enter into that frame. You have to really enter into that dispensation. and how God administers judgment. Whether the children of Egypt died.
Wait, was there a question? Because this just sounds like a sermon justifying killing babies.
No, I'm not justifying killing babies. I'm trying to.
Of course you are. You're saying that there is a way of looking at killing babies in which it makes sense. That's what you're saying.
On God's justice. And number one, I said.
I wonder if Benjamin agrees in the right, in a woman's right to choose and women's health care. I bet you Benjamin stands with abortionists, though.
How do you know Benjamin is just a story? How do you know?
I didn't say that I know it.
Exactly.
So, what I believe.
So you're just coming from blind faith and trying to acknowledge something that's, it's just a story. God is, I mean, that's the end of the day.
Well, I don't have any evidence that it's anything
what she's telling you is, according to the scripture, God is just in what he does. Whether if you talk about killing the babies in that moment or not, right? Because at the end of the day, God is the justifier. Right?
We agree.
And if you have a problem with that, then take it with God.
Is justifying baby killing.
Sure, that's fine. But you could take it with God if you want to, yeah.
She's just giving you a response. Is right there with her.
I'm right there with her.
I am trying to appeal to people, all good people, not to
There is no good people. There's no good people in this sense. All is evil, and all desire what is evil against God. And that's what it is.
Please.
I got a question on our. Yeah, I don't think Benjamin's question is being properly addressed. I really.
Go ahead, see if you can answer it for him. Go ahead.
Okay. It just seems to me, if you stand back and look at it objectively in a chronological way, God is doing a lot of killing. He's the flood, Sodom and Gomorrah, and it seems like God is way into eugenics, even to the point that Abraham, the guy he chose, was married and breeding with his sister. That really is kind of neck-down genetics, very selective genetics, if you ask me. Sarah was his half-sister, same father, different mothers. And then when it comes to Isaac, they always want you to marry someone in our clan, in our tribe. So if you stand back, there's something in Isaiah that says, I have chosen the perfect vine. It is very much of an allegory, a metaphor with a vineyard to produce the ideal wine. So he chooses them, and then whatever it happens that Israel and his children end up in Egypt, and there's only 20, 30 of them, and 400 years later, there's 4 million of them. And
They kicked me.
you have to accept that God can create humans. So what does it matter if he kills them, if he can reconstitute them in another, hopefully better situation? So I think that's a very important point to accept. So eugenics is going on here. So he brings them out. He kills about half of them in the desert. He's winnowing them out. And then the killing basically stops once the kingdom is established. This mass eugenics project stops. And they say, okay, I've set it up. I've planted you into this location. You're supposed to be my nation of priests. You're supposed to be the example to the rest of humanity as to how to behave. That was the goal, but they failed, right? So I also don't believe that this God of Abraham is an omniscient or omnipotent God, because sure seems like a lot of his projects aren't working out that well, but I think it's also a process.
This hands
because their kingdom failed so miserably, he started killing them. What's that?
Excuse me, Benjamin, this is loud, so I'd like to interrupt.
Israelites give permission to kill Amalekites. So
that's right. I'm saying he was establishing the kingdom. He was gaining the territory, which is basically what Israel is doing now with the Palestinians.
This is why I think that this religion is genocidophilia.
Benjamin, may I ask you a question? But it's gonna be
It certainly was a lot of genocide going on, a lot of killing going on in the first, 1,000 years.
To love God is to love genocide.
No, I mean, I think it's very important to look at God as a farmer. He is developing, he's farming human beings. He's
using genocide to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
So
There's a lot of killing on the farm. There's a lot of
you're
killing
engaging
on the
in
farm.
genocidophilia. That's the risk
if
here.
I'm farming, if I take out weeds, am I engaging in some sort of genocide against some weeds?
It's not genocide, but it is.
Well, in a way it is, because I'm being prejudicial against these particular types of plants, and because I want my corn to grow. And, I'm like, I'm not going to replant this type of corn because it's not what I'm looking for. I'm just saying, objectively.
What you're doing now is you're reducing humans to the level of.
Hi, I'm just going to interrupt and go ahead because you two will never shut up because you're morons. I just want to say that God is the all and that this room is an IQ deficit room full of low IQ stupid people talking about nothing. It's a trap. It's a web of despair set up for loser morons like Selah and all of you idiots and Jew-hating anti-Semites. They kicked me.
And if I may, Benjamin, if it's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this is gonna be a little away from this topic of like Egyptians. If it's okay, if not, then I can wait.
Fine.
All right, so here's my question to you: is that I see that you said that you think God just like money, all right, it's invented. My question is that forget about
10,000 gods; they're all invented.
Okay, yeah, well. Forget about all religions, all myths, all of that. Do you think that there is a creator, or based on probability, do you think that we were, or everything in this universe, was that created or it was not created?
It's created.
Okay, so do you think that there is a creator behind that to begin with?
Sure.
Okay, so all right, so at least we're past that point. Okay, all right, yeah, continue.
But you want to anthropomorphize the creator into something you're going to then call a god, and do you then want to project the God that created the universe into the God that kills Egyptian children?
So this
that's the problem.
Here's the thing. I mean, I don't want to talk about this Egyptian part because I don't believe in it. So it would be kind of unfair for me to talking about something I don't believe in. My only thing
unfair to talk about things you don't believe. What makes you think that?
So here's what I mean to say is that still trying to either justify or trash both of them would be kind of an unfair point from my end. All right. The reason I'm actually
unfair.
Because the thing is that this is not my book to talk about. That's why I'm saying that. But that's
wait a minute. Do you think the book talks about you?
I'm not an Egyptian or Israelite, so I don't think so.
You believe in God?
I do believe in God.
You believe in God?
Yeah.
You believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob?
Yes, I do. But that's the thing, is that as a Muslim, I don't believe that those stories are correct or complete. That's what I'm saying is that that's one of the reasons I don't want to talk about it.
Right. Your position is that it's a game of telephone and it's been translated over and over again, shared, written down, lost.
It's a little more
than
than that.
It's just at the end of the day, it's just a book, right?
But here's my point. My question is that okay, anthropomorphically, yeah, sure. I don't personally believe that God has, he's like a human being, all right? But that's my question to you is that if you don't believe that, then any kind of questions, like right now you're like, oh, God killed Egyptians, all right? You're more worried about that, and rightly so, because you're a human being. You're worried about.
Well, let me be very clear. I am worried about something I call genocidophilia, which is the love of genocide. And people express the love of genocide by expressing their admiration for the God of the Bible.
Completely understand, but that's why my thing is that. But that's why
the God is real or not. What bothers me is the genocidophilia is real.
I completely get your point, but my point here is that right now, whatever you're feeling about it, or whatever you're concerned about it, or whatever you're hating, you're technically making God into a human being as well. Because before
No,
this,
I'm not doing. No.
let me complete what I'm saying. Before that, all right, God killed vegetations. God killed a lot of animals, all the kettles. That happened as well. All right, and you didn't got concerned. And again, I'm not doing a gotcha point. But my
True.
point here
I
is that
asked just 20 minutes ago.
you did
What's
ask,
up with
okay.
killing the firstborn animal?
Okay.
Explain justify that
Okay,
shit.
my apologies. I think I missed that part. Okay, so at least you did cover. But even if we do ignore this, or if you not say ignore, but just put this entire story on the side for a second. The point is that even for living right now, right, you have to survive by killing something. Even if you become a vegan, you're still taking some sort of life. That's a different thing than whether they feel pain or not. Okay, they don't feel pain, but still, you are taking life. Right now, this entire world, it is structured by God, where one thing
What the
is
fuck is this guy even saying? What's your point? What kind of point are you trying to make?
You guys have been talking for a while. I'm just trying to.
You've just been rambling on. I'm just saying. What's the point of this?
So my point here is that even the so-called mercy or ethics that you're actually you're just kind of creating a human-like species and expecting that to act like human. That's the point we're just trying to make right now.
Many people take a theistic view of God, where they think God is an actual agent that is involved in our actions, that he has maximal aspects of morality, and that he's a thinking agent. And so when you say anthropomorphize God, I mean, maybe you just have a pantheistic view or a deistic view.
How's that pantheistic, or how is that deistic to begin with? I mean,
well, if it's deistic, you're just saying that God just started the world and just stepped back and he's not involved in anything.
I did not even say that for even 1 minute, but okay.
Well, I'm just saying. Look, I'm just saying that many people who are religious do take a theistic view, and it sounds
like Benjamin. That's why I specifically asked Benjamin.
Benjamin's just doing an internal critique of that view. If you have a different view than that,
and that's perfectly fine. I mean, Jason, come on, man. It's kind of like I've been listening to you guys for a while as well. I mean, if you don't want to listen, opposite side, no problem. But my point here is that I've been trying to first even set the parameters to begin with. Because let's just say if someone comes to you and say that, okay, I am God, what are your parameters to judge whether that person is God or not?
I don't know what that question means. If somebody comes to me and say, I am God, what are the parameters that I would do to assess whether that entity is God?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a nonsensical question. I mean, it just depends on what your definition of God is.
That's my question. Is that what is yours to begin with? That's exactly what.
Look, I'm an atheist. I don't think that any God or gods exist. So my view is that, any God, the traditional view of a God who is an entity that created the universe, that is a thinking agent, that is a theistic view of the world, that has morals, and that the things that God does are all powerful, all knowing, all loving. He doesn't make mistakes. He everything that God does is good. That's my view of God.
So that's my question. So if someone comes to you, is there going to be any parameter that you're going to be able to, all right, prove that you're all loving, or prove you're doing? Is there any parameters that he satisfies, and you'd be like, all right, yeah, I believe that you're a God?
Look, they could just make an argument. I mean, there's arguments that you could make to justify the existence of God. But if you're asking, if somebody comes to me and I'm like, well, what kind of proof are they going to provide that they are a God? I just think it's kind of nonsensical. I don't even understand the question.
So okay, if you don't understand the question, I can.
Yeah, I don't.
Because here's the reason I'm saying is that, look, if you're an atheist, right, you don't believe in God. All right, so there needs to be that either you're 100% convinced that, okay, I tried to look for these parameters, and these parameters were not satisfied, therefore there is no God. All right, that's how and that's my question. If that person comes in, is there any particular parameters in your mind that, okay, if you satisfy these parameters, I will believe in you to be God? And if there's no parameters, then maybe you need to think about them.
Yeah, it's fine. Nobody else
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
This is like lowbrow.
Yeah, super lowbrow. Arslan, were you convinced that God exists somehow?
I'm convinced that God exists actually.
By what?
So based on like the fact that we all are created. That's
Okay, now you're begging the question right out of the gate.
Okay, so can you repeat that?
Yeah, you're begging the question. You said the reason you were convinced that God exists is because we are created.
You didn't say that.
Wow,
Okay, so you're asking me like, okay, if someone comes to me and say, oh, okay, actually, you know what? If someone comes to me and say that I'm God, no matter what tricks he plays, no matter what he creates.
No one said that. No one said any of this shit. You're just making shit up now, dude.
I'm just, so you were asking me this
question. Yeah, I asked you a simple question. What convinced you God exists? And right away you begged the question. You said, well, everything that's created, that's evidence. Yeah.
Yeah,
that just means that you're saying that you think things are created by a God. And that's what convinced you. That's all you said.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just dumb. That's low brow.
Okay, so then that's the question I was earlier asking. What are the parameters that I should look
Anything.
For? Okay, what like
anything that God wants to do to convince me? Because you're convinced by stuff that seems to be pretty low bar. Why don't you just admit that you want to believe in God, therefore you do? That's basically
what you're saying. Even from a probability perspective, it makes more sense that there's a creator than there's not a creator.
No, it doesn't.
What's the evidence for that?
So you're saying that anywhere.
Well, just give us the evidence.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Then there's a simple evidence is that you need to bring anything that has been created by itself or it didn't exist and started existing by itself.
We're asking you for evidence. And then you just turned it around.
I'm telling you.
I'm asking you. Say you believe in God.
I'm telling the evidence, right? I'm telling you about the evidence, right?
What's the evidence?
I'm telling you the evidence, all right? Everything I observe around the world, everything that what was that?
Look at the trees.
Okay.
That's essentially the evidence.
No, I'm not even going there. I'm not even going there at this point. I'm not even going there at that point.
But what's wrong with that?
Literally the most. Okay, you can go there, no problem. Like I mean, if you look at the trees, that